now it's just me messing around. Oh wow. Whew. Get it in tune, bro. Get it in tune, man. Come on. Okay, that's enough messing around. As you can see in the background, there is a project playing. This is a recording of a previous project that I made. And I'm just going through the bit where the rap vocal is supposed to come in. So, it starts with a nice sort of intro to the track, and then in the middle of it, there's like a repeating element or repeating part where the rapper's supposed to come in. So here I'm just creating some variation to try and make it sound more interesting. Yes, so we moved on from the train track, the abandoned train track, because it was just way too busy. Cyclists, walkers, cars, jet planes flying over. It was highly distracting. So I moved on to a wooded location, being bitten by mosquitoes and many other small creatures, and the sun is beaming on the face so much that it feels that my face is burning. But we moved past those restrictions. Here comes a jet plane. I don't care if you want to go to Spain, it's hot enough here. Be on your way. Yeah, so it's very sunny, but anyway, we're here to talk about reason 13 and what's to come. So in the previous video, I spoke about the menu to the new browser, or the new browser option, and where you select it in the menu here. So, I can't show it here, but wherever there is a folder icon, as you can see here, I'll zoom in there and circle it there. In the middle, centre of the screen there, it says Hip Hop Kit, right? And then it's got the folder menu, okay? Whenever you select a folder menu, the browser window highlights orange to the left here, and then all your presets are there, and you go through the presets. I spoke about this in the previous video. Go and watch that one to sort of clarify what we're talking about. I don't want to be repeating myself, because this is about a different focus, or slightly moving on from the previous focus, which was the menu and the new browser and my thoughts on it. But we're just recapping. So when you click the folder in the demonstration they showed us, when you click the folder icon, the browser comes up like this. See my face here with the camera? Imagine that is the browser, the new browser window. So it comes up like this. You click on it and then it stays up while you're selecting the presets. So there's the old browser to the left there, so you can set the presets, whatever. But now, instead of being to the left of the screen, it's now going to pop up wherever the folder menu is, where you can select it, right? Now that already changes the way I do things, because as you'll see in the previous video, actually let's go to that video now, because I've got it on here. Okay. So, you can see there, I'm basically recapping the last video here, but you can see there the folder, right? So as I'm going for the presets, I'm selecting the button on the device there, the up and down arrows to select the presets. Okay? Like so. So I don't usually select the presets from the window there when I'm also tweaking the actual device itself. So I press the buttons up here and I'm got straight access to the Niles and Dobbs. Niles and Dobbs? Niles and Dobbs. The dials and knobs and sliders I've got access to straight from the menu there. So I click a few presets on the menu and then I go straight down and I'm editing, right? But imagine if the browse window, which is to the left there highlighted orange, imagine if that was now over the screen, because it's basically stays open as you're looking for the presets, clicking through, right? I don't know about that, but go to the previous video where I discuss that. But I also want to talk about something different as well, something that I want in Reason 13, which is stem separation. And people said in the comments, I say it's fine, you don't need stem separation in Reason because there are other things like Serato and other things you can use to do stem separation. Yes, you can. However, I want Reason 13 to be able to compete with FL Studio and MPC, DAW, stupid name for a DAW. Akaya's DAW is just called MPC. Yeah, great. But anyway, both MPC, DAW and FL Studio have stem separation. And I feel in order to stay relevant with the young, I think Reason needs to implement these things that are in FL Studio mainly, and also MPC hardware and MPC DAW, which is stem separation, among other things, but stem separation, okay? It just shows that they're there to compete, because let's be honest, when we go and look at beat makers on YouTube, well, it's pretty much always FL Studio, isn't it? FL Studio is everywhere. And one thing I never see when I'm watching an FL Studio video or creator who's using FL Studio, I never see them using the Reason Rack plugin, you see. So even making Reason a rack to be loaded in as a VST in other DAWs like FL Studio, I don't see that happening very much. The most videos I see that happening is Reason's own videos where they're showing, a content creator and then they're using the VST Reason plugin in the DAW because Reason's asked them to try it out. But I don't see many people using the Reason Rack. You'll see many videos online of music production and beat production. You'll see FL Studio, you'll see Ableton, whatever, and you'll see them using native instruments. You'll see them using arcade, but you don't see them using the Reason Rack plugin. So the question is, how can Reason stay relevant versus FL Studio if it's not going to have the same features or similar features to FL Studio? Now, someone in my previous video commented, we don't need Reason to be copying other DAWs, I want this, I want that. But the editing features and MIDI features in Reason, some of the MIDI functions and that are not quite up to par with FL Studio. That's just my personal opinion. Now, yes, I could use a plugin inside Reason from Serato to do stem separation, but why can't Reason do that stem separation? Now, moving on to another topic, the pitch correction. So inside the Reason sequencer, you get pitch correction. However, I found a few times that it doesn't quite work the way I'd like it to, especially with lyrics that are not, some more sort of less pitched lyrics, maybe like a rap lyric or something like that, or lyrics that don't have like a major tones was this thing. It's hard to explain. I have to do a separate video on this, but sometimes the pitch feature just goes haywire on me, and it just basically changes all the pitch to sort of like robotic kind of sound. It sounds like it's basically broken. So Reason 13, they need to improve on the features of the pitch correction. So I want stem separation, I want pitch correction. Now, to be improved, I want pitch correction to be improved, but I also want something very, very important, which I'll do in a second, after I've changed this annoying in the background. Okay. So, let's talk next what I want. I do want the browser to be improved, but I don't know if I want the browser to be moved from the left where it is. I think the best thing to do, if they want to have a drop-down menu for the browser, you know, to have it appear wherever you're clicking on the box to open it, I think they should make it optional, because like I said in the previous video, when this menu's closed down, it's just like a grey bar. See the top two grey bars on the mixer and rack there? Well, it's the same for the browser. It just closes to a thin bar, so it was never in the way in the first place. And that's part of what I like about it. And it gives me access, nothing's in the front of the devices, so I can press the presets or switch through the presets. I can even set Midi up to allow me to switch through the presets from the keyboard, and then on the mouse select the settings, you know, on the device I'm using. Now, we'll just wait for this jet plane to go over while I think of the next thing I want in reason. Because after I've stopped recording the video, I start thinking, oh wow, I should have thought about that. Should have thought about that, should have thought about this. Interesting. Yeah, so I want stem separation, I want improved functionality for reasons pitch edit. I want the option to have the menu not appear over the devices when I click on it if I want to, and I want the option for the browser to stay as it is, but also have this drop down browser if I want to. Okay. I want more Midi options for Midi editing. And another thing I want is I want independent zoom for the rack versus all the rest of it. So, at the moment when you use application zoom, it zooms everything. So it will zoom everything in, make it bigger, right? It zooms the bar in, it zooms the devices in, right? Just an example. So if let's just say we've zoomed in the screen now. Well, the play, stop and record is now huge, as well as the instruments themselves, and I don't want it like that. I want the rack devices big so I can see it and play around with it, and I want everything else to stay the same size as it is, right? I don't need a huge ginormous play button, because the first time I got Reason 12 and the update, hates the update, right? I wanted to see the rack really close and zoomed in. It looked great, but then I was just left with this huge play button underneath it. I was like, okay, so I have to zoom back out again. You know, it just seemed a bit. Well, a bit clunky and a bit. Well, I wasn't very impressed. So I just have to keep it zoomed out. And unless you've got a massive TV or a massive screen, which is you're using this on, the application zoom isn't really useful, you know, because it doesn't have an independent zoom. So that's a problem. What other problems, what other issues? Just going for some random issues, some random things. I'm thinking off the top of my head of what I would improve in Reason. I don't use blocks, but I've seen interesting ways they can be used. But oftentimes on the YouTube channel when they're showing, even on one of the latest videos, when they show people using blocks, they're using them in unconventional ways, in ways they weren't planned to be used. Often not even using it for the block function, just using it as a label feature. So perhaps Reason should actually implement a feature where they allow you to label things like that, so you're not doing your own sort of bodge job of using blocks in an unconventional way just to do labels of sections of track. I don't use blocks, I don't need that sort of thing. However, you know, I've seen amongst the Reason community that being quite a wide request. Now, I did have somebody mention in a previous video, on my previous video comment section, about latency being bad inside Reason 12. I'm not really sure about that. I've not had any latency problems. Everything seems to work quite fine. CPU is quite fine, even on one of my old computers, like a really old computer, a really slow computer. Reason worked while MPC DAW and Ableton didn't work at all, but Reason did work, so it's highly reliable. So I've had this conversation before with people about, you know, they want to add features and so on, and they want this and they want that, and I said to them, you know, Reason Studios has to make sure the most important thing is reliability. They're not going to do anything that could potentially compromise the reliability of the DAW, okay? You load up Reason, it's highly unlikely that it's going to crash on you, right? Whereas I've had Ableton crash on me and other DAWs. I've had Ableton crash on me and other DAWs crash on me. Whereas Reason's more stable. So anything that they add could affect that negatively. So they won't do it. And that might be a reason, because Reason works in an unusual way with its rack-based system. Perhaps it is harder for them to implement things that are in other DAWs, just simply by the way it functions. You know, perhaps doing different things, you know, is hard for Reason Studios to implement. It's not the fact that they're lazy, or the fact they're not doing it, or getting on with certain things. It's just hard to implement within this system which they designed. And that takes us on to another point, which is I want the ability to save Midi that I've been playing. So in Ableton, you can play something without it being recorded, or you can play something while you're not recording. You can play it, and then you can go back and you can press the button and capture it, what you just recorded, even though you weren't actually recording. That is a really useful feature. Because how many times have you been messing around and jamming about, and you think, oh, that sounded really good, and then when you try and replay it a few minutes later, you can't do it. Well, that would be a good feature to have, where you can basically just recall anything that's been played in, say, the last 5 minutes or whatever, or last 30 seconds, or whatever it needs to be. Now, another thing I see a lot of people complain about is there's no video functionality inside of Reason for people who want to do sound design. To me personally, I don't need that. I think maybe a third-party VST could do it, you know. Now, in a recent video of Reason Studios, they had this woman on there called Demude, I don't know what her name is, and she's playing around with all these different things. She's got hardware linked up, and she's not clocking her setup from Reason. She's not using the Reason clock. She's syncing everything from this separate device. So, is latency with clock and timing a problem with hardware? I don't use a lot of hardware with Reason, but if you do, leave it in the comments down below, let me know. But is that a problem for you? Do you need that? You know, better latency with hardware going in it, you know, hardware being sequenced out. Yeah, it's just we're just chilling out in the woods right now, talking about Reason 12 and Reason 13, what's to come and what I want with it. Just off the top of my head, just chilling. We're just chilling in the woods, baby. But I want to know what you think about it, because I'm going to do a proper video, and we'll go into the ins and outs of stuff. But for now, that's it. Go and watch the previous video. I'll see you next time.